Instead of a landscape, Antarctica has an icescape. This is what an ice age looks like. At the bottom of the Earth, at the South Pole, is a body of land and ice called Antarctica, the coldest continent in the world. This icy habitat is south of South America, south of the Atlantic Ocean, the Pacific Ocean, and the Indian Ocean. It's south of everything. 95% of the land is covered with permanent ice that's about a mile deep. The seas surrounding the outside of the continent are frozen into floating ice that expands and contracts with the seasons. During the winter, which is in July and August, the Antarctic continent gets twice as big because more of the seawater around it freezes. By winter's end, this floating ice is about 6.5 feet deep. In the winter, the temperature is usually minus 70 degrees Fahrenheit, cold enough to freeze boiling water thrown into the air. Once, in the winter of 1983, the temperature went down to 128 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit. In the warmest part of the summer, December through February, it's just above freezing. And in the summer, the sun shines all the time for 4 months. It's like one long day. It never gets very warm, though, because the pure white surface reflects back nearly all of the sun's heat. In wintertime, Antarctica faces away from the sun. Although you can sometimes see the moon in the winter, it's dark 24 hours a day for 4 months. And here, the sun is rising for the first time after 4 months of winter darkness. At first, only a little sun shows for a few minutes. No people live in Antarctica. Some scientists do research. Without special cold weather clothing, equipment, and shelters, people can't survive here. Antarctic blizzards can last for weeks. Winter winds can reach 93 miles per hour. Sometimes you can't see more than 3 feet in front of your face. Most life in Antarctica lives in or around the cold waters. One animal that lives here is the seal. It uses its teeth to keep a breathing hole open in the ice. Other animals that have adapted include a few kinds of birds, whales, plankton, a small shrimp-like creature, and some fish. Some Antarctic fish have an antifreeze in their blood so they can live in sub-zero temperatures. Just like cars have antifreeze in their engines so they don't freeze in cold weather. The most famous resident is the penguin, a bird that lives in the oceans and on the ice. These emperor penguins are big. They're more than 3 feet tall and can weigh as much as 80 pounds. They're funny looking. But their fat round bodies, their feet, and even the way they rebreathe warmed air from their nostrils all help them survive in this frigid climate. Once they're in the water, penguins are good hunters. They can dive down to more than 1,300 feet and hold their breath for almost 20 minutes. As winter approaches, this hole is the penguins' only access to the fish and other sea creatures they eat. Soon the hole will freeze over, but for now it's big enough for everyone to get their food. Winter is the penguins' breeding season. Before they breed, and before it gets completely dark for months, they move to more stable ice 100 miles farther inland. To make this long journey, they leave the thinner ice and their food source. They have to be fat when they head out. From now on, the penguins won't eat for months at a time. Penguins are built for swimming, so the most efficient way for them to travel over land is to slide along on their bellies. Once they find the stable ice that won't break up, even in a bad winter storm, they huddle together for warmth against the cold. They take turns standing on the colder spots on the outside of the huddle. The arrangement seems fair to everybody. The female penguin lays one egg and keeps it safe and warm on her feet, under a flap of skin called a brood flap. The egg would freeze in seconds if it weren't kept here. Soon the male takes the egg and keeps it for 9 weeks so the female can leave and feed in the far-off ocean. While the male is holding the egg, the chick hatches. The male feeds the chick with a fluid produced from his stomach. When the well-fed females return, their chicks are beginning to mature. The males have lived off their fat and have only eaten snow for months. They are only half as big as they were. While the males are off feeding, the females hold the growing chicks. Soon they're ready to practice life on their own. When the chicks can swim, the penguins return to their ocean feeding ground for the Arctic summer.